And the second day of the Tour Down Under dawned beneath cooler skies, thankfully for the riders, after the first stage was in the oven of South Australia. Lance Armstrong had come through day one and was in excellent humour when he arrived to sign in as one of the 133 riders. There was a lot of concern, though, about whether or not Robbie McEwen would be in the start order after his accident the previous day in the sprint, when a camera sliced through his arm and he had to go and have it bandaged in hospital. But he was there, and Paul Showing was talking to him.
It shows you in sport it can go from good to bad pretty quickly, and it was a shame because I was really going for the stage win. I was just about to really make my big run to the line as Greipel was going to try and come past, and from the moment I hit the camera, it was really all over. I sort of kept trying a little bit, but no, it was all done, and it's a shame because form is obviously pretty good, and I'll just try and get through today's stage, see how it all feels, and see how my arm copes with riding the bike, and hopefully I'll get a better day today, and I can try for another stage win later in the week.
Yes, the Queenslander, one of the toughest men in the business, and ready to face up to a stage of 145 kilometres. Minister of SA Tourism there, Jane Lomax-Smith, is seeing the riders on the way. Still a full field of 133. A short neutralised section got them out of Hahndorf. They come back here in a few kilometres' time en route for the circuit around Stirling. But for the moment, just a 1 kilometre neutralised ride, then the right turn, and they'll be into the hills of the Adelaide Hills. And once they made that right turn, there was plenty of riders willing to start the attacks. So often the case in a big international stage race, the first hour of racing quite often is very, very fast till they get a lead group, and this happened after only a few kilometres of the day. About 8 of them. By the time these three leaders, Allan, Guillaume Blow and Marc Irizar, arrived in Charleston, 17 kilometres down the road, it was Allan who was taking out the small time bonus. At that point, they led over the main field by 3 minutes and 5 seconds, as they were now turning for the Fox Creek climb, and that would be the first and only monitored climb of the day in the Skoda King of the Mountains competition. By the time they got to the top, the lead was 4 minutes. Now it was the turn of Euskaltel Euskadi's Markel Irizar to take the points first over the top. Second there was the French rider Guillaume Blow, and Aaron Kemp sat back there in third place. The peloton toiled their way up what is quite a steep climb here, and they were not in any angry mood until the summit. And then it was Andoni Lafuerte who led over both of the mountains yesterday, taking out the 4th place sprint there and keeping his lead in the King of the Mountains competition. Over the top of the climb, though, a gear problem for Kemps. Yes, he was 4 minutes ahead of the field, but the two riders now are speeding away from him as the service came to his aid. A jammed chain. It looked as though the gears had slipped right into the back wheel. Released by the mechanic, Glenn Viger, who's a New South Welshman, gets him back on the road. Quickly back to the two leaders. I think it was rather wisely that they did slow a little bit so that Kemps could get back up to them. With such a long way still to go, they'd only done 40 kilometres. There's still over 100 lay ahead, and so they needed him back in that leading group of 3. Then the gap continued to ascend, and at one stage it went out to over 5 minutes. By the time the riders got to the 55 kilometre point at Balhanna, it was Kemps again taking out the small time bonus ahead of Blow and Irizar. Then as the race was approaching the finishing circuits and the last 60 kilometres, Julian Dean, the former champion of New Zealand, decided he would try and reach them. Now at that point they were still over 3.5 minutes ahead. As the riders chased behind, these three boys in front were passing through the finishing line, but there was still 3 circuits to go before the finish, 60 kilometres. Julian Dean, showing a good fitness for the time of the year, was closing the gap rapidly. And noticeable too in the main field, Lance Armstrong was riding near the front. Cheered on by another huge crowd here, and this was possibly the biggest crowd we've seen on the open highway of the race. The riders now were pushing on, trying to split up the main field as best they could. This was a long climb too. It was the best part of 8 kilometres as they started the climb to get right through the finishing line in Stirling. Cheered on by a magnificent crowd. The leaders, though, were still out front, while behind there was a breakaway here being led by Lance Armstrong. This was the first time Armstrong had turned a pedal in anger since he left the Tour de France as winner in 2005. And there were plenty of takers to go with him, because Michael Rogers was on the move too. Matthew Lloyd, a former champion of Australia, also trying to make matters good for him. The field, though, were full of fight now, because there was every belief that the race would split on this long climb, which they tackled no fewer than 4 times. Yet, for some reason, they proved to be a very tenacious lot. They've never finished in Stirling before. An attack here by Jussi Väikkönen, the champion of Finland. Everybody throwing the gauntlet into the ring. But when it came down towards the final line, the riders who were pushing on, and the man who was looking great, Allan Davis. He won in Victor Harbour a year ago. We go there on day 3, but right now Davis was looking to clean up here on day 2, producing the sprint of his life. A man who's won 30 bike races in a career that started in 2002. The man has also ridden this tour 11 times. The only one to have done so had taken out the stage ahead of Graham Brown and Martin Elmager. A clear victory too for Allan Davis and his Quickstep team. The Queenslander was back in business big time. Beat another good sprinter here in Graham Brown. And again, the sprinters, on a day when they were expected to be beaten by the climbers, had kept their nerve. And in the case of Allan Davis, he got himself the race leader's ochre jersey, now leading the race by just a couple of seconds over the former leader, Andre Greipel. This race didn't change shape too much today, and tomorrow we can expect more attacks to Victor Harbour.
Allan, congratulations, a wonderful performance in this your 11th year. Picked up the stage and also the added bonus of the leader's jersey. What does it mean?
It's very special. You know, we come here with an objective of winning a stage. We've done that on the second stage, so we're very happy as a team. You know, the jersey is a bonus on top of that, and it's the first time for me in 11 years to have the jersey, so it's very special. I'd just like to thank my team, Quickstep. They've put a lot of respect and trust into me, and it's good to give them something back with a win.